New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good afternoon and welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. My name is Rev Gina and I am blessed to be here with you as the host of this show. And what this show is all about is just that, finding the joy in your journey. It's not waiting for something to happen. It's not waiting for that promotion or to meet the right person or, well, when this happens, then I'll be happy. Joy is an inherent quality that is always available. Whether we're experiencing it or not, it is always available. So this show is here to help you realize and recognize greater paths to joy. Everyone finds it in a different way. Everyone experiences it in a different way, but it is always available. So knowing that it is right here and right now, we are starting this beautiful show on this wonderful network that is here to help uplift in every way. That's what we do here at New Thought Media Network. We are here to help bring that new thought into everyday life. So today is no different, and I am so grateful. I am grateful to be here with someone that has helped me personally in many ways. This person is actually the dean of the Holmes Institute. She's the president, sorry, not the dean, but the president of the Holmes Institute. She was a senior minister at the CSL in Greater Dayton for 15 years. She's a lawyer on the CSL legal committee. She's also practiced law for 10 years before all of this in Salt Lake City, Utah. She's done all kinds of things and run all kinds of committees. And now what she really does is help people like me find their way through an amazing spiritual experience to become ministers so that we may be that change that we wish to see in the world. She helps guide us through the transformation to this new life of ministry. And she's been a blessing to me. So we're going to talk about the Holmes Institute. We're going to talk about her path. And Rev Dr CC Coltrain, welcome. Welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. Thank you for being here with me and with us today.
Gina, you're so welcome. I just love you and I love the work that you're doing in the world. And I was thrilled when you asked me.
Thank you for being here. It's so important that people know about the Holmes Institute and what it is and what it does. And I'm very passionate about it. You know that. I've told you that many times. If there is anything I can do to let people know, I know for me, ministry was not something I ever saw. So tell me, how did you find your path? As a lawyer, even, how did you find your path to ministry?
Well, it was really interesting. I was active at what was at that point the First Church of Religious Science in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I'd gone through all the classes and didn't really want to be a practitioner, but went ahead and took those classes because there was nothing else left to take. And then I went to the Asilomar summer meeting, which we used to have every year, and listened to someone who was incredibly passionate about the work that he was doing. His name is Andrew Harvey. He's written a whole bunch of books, and he was talking about truly being a force for good in the world. And ministry had never entered my mind. But as I was walking across the grounds of Asilomar that night, I just got this absolutely clear message that said, ministry is the next thing for you. And I kind of stood there and he looked at the sky and said, are you sure? And it just never would go away. It was this nagging ever since then that was the next step for me. And so I kind of went into it with, okay, I'll fill out the application. And before I knew it, I was starting classes in San Diego at the San Diego campus and taking the classes at Holmes Institute. And 2.5 years later, I was through. And during that 2.5 years, it became really clear to me that that was what I wanted to do, not practicing law, because it was so, law changed a lot over the years. It became very contentious, and that just wastes people's money. So I wanted to do something to build people up instead of try to tear them down.
And did you actually come right out of your ministry? How long did it take to find your center?
Not long. I was licensed in the summer of 2005, and my first day there was October 17th, 2005. They've been looking for a long time. They were without a minister for about 20 months. And I just thought, oh, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. So I went out there, and basically we all fell in love with each other. And so I was there after that for 15 years. When, pulpit ministry, senior leadership is a lot. It's a lot, as you know. And somewhere along the line there, I got exposed to and began to work with Holmes Institute. And so when they offered me a full-time job there, I decided to let go of the senior minister position and do that instead, because it's really suited. I'm really suited to it, and it's really suited to me more than anything I've ever found before. So here I am.
And do you miss having that congregation in the way that you did before? What you're doing is very different. I mean, it's not, you're not there as every Sunday seeing your community. It's an online, it's a virtual, and yes, you communicate with us all, but it's not necessarily, it's very different.
It is very different. And if there's one thing, well, there's two things I missed. I loved giving Sunday messages. It was my favorite thing. And I really missed the people. I was back there for the installation and ordination of my successor in October, and it was wonderful to see all those folks again and see how they were doing and catch up with them. And because basically I hadn't seen them since, except for a little distance farewell in there, since the pandemic started. So Wow. It was because, we all went virtual during the pandemic. So it was really nice to see everybody. I really wanted to be where I am now, which is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, because my sisters both live here, and they are my most necessary community. I'll just put it that way. We're very close, and they're my support and my sanity sometimes. And so this made it so that we could move up here, and I could live in my beautiful forest and be close to my sisters. And so we spend a lot of time together, and they sort of help me just stay on track, just we help each other because we are very close and we know each other so well. So yes, I miss that sense of community, and I really miss just sort of watching how people are progressing in their lives, but I get to see that with the students too, big time,
Absolutely.
because there's such a change, that goes on.
I know there wasn't me walking through. I know for me, I never planned on it. And then boom, I finished. When I finished, none of the way through had I any thought of it. And at the end of Prac 2, that second year of practitioner training is when the last trimester is when it just was clear as day. I saw the picture of it, and it was not even a question. I thought it was crazy, but I'm like, here I go. So and there I was, and it is amazing as you walk through. It's a humbling thing, there's a responsibility that you feel like you should know more, but you always feel like you should know more. Even as a parent, you feel like you should know more, but there's no instruction manual.
Right.
We're all human doing the best we can. But this teaching is beautiful to me. I love, first of all, that it's a teaching and not a religion, because it's us knowing that we know some, but we always need to know more.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I see some people take a few classes and start to feel better, and then they go away. And I want to tell them, oh, there's so much more. And what happened to me during ministerial training was that I found there is an infinite universe inside that I can continue to learn about, and I can continue to do work with forever, forever. And every time I see something new or learn something new or pick up a book by a mystic I haven't read before, I am taken into that infinite universe, and I find something new every time. Whether it's Meister Eckhart or Brene Brown, I am forever relating and applying and learning something new, and it just goes on and on forever. It's very difficult to become bored as a science of mind minister, because there's always something new happening. And that's the beauty of it for me, was what Ernest Holmes said in his last sermon by the sea. Stay open at the top, continue to learn new things and incorporate them into your living of this teaching, and incorporate them into the way you teach it to other people, and incorporate them into what you're putting out into the world. And I love that, because there is so much and so much more all the time that we have to do that. It's like he said, if you're not growing, you're dying, basically.
Yes.
And so as we continue to learn and grow the philosophy, the teaching, we continue to live in this really vibrant sense of being alive. And that's what I really love about it. And that's kind of what we're trying to do at the Holmes Institute, is to incorporate more of what we've learned in the world, all the time.
Absolutely. And I encourage people, even if you've never thought about it, find out more about the Holmes Institute. It's a wonderful place especially practitioners. We have hundreds of practitioners in our centers, and it's so important. First of all, I can't imagine getting bored, but if you ever did, if you're looking for something a little deeper, there's so many wonderful professors, and you're revamping the whole program. There's new professors. It's a lot more modern and user-friendly. Yeah. Even, the system, it's really, you've done a lot to update and to get it to the point of people being able to use it and understand it in a much better and easier way. And I know that for me, one of the most amazing parts was the people you walk through with. Even you said, we were chatting before, and you said, they're still your closest friends. They become, it's amazing to me, because, these are people that I speak to now at least once a week, several of them.
Yeah, they become your family, don't they? You know, I
Spiritual
can
community
go,
is amazing.
yeah, I can go years without seeing, oh, someone wonderful like Reverend Ruth. And then when I see her, I'm just transported into that place of just absolute love because she's so fabulous. And, you know, I could call on any one of them and they could call on me, just because you become so open and you go so deep with those people that you're in school with that it's a bond that just, you know, remains forever. And I love that. I love that about it. My middle sister actually was 2 years behind me. So not only is she my sister, she was, you know, in my classes, and
Wow.
we went through everything from foundations to practitioner studies together. So that's cemented an even deeper bond between the two of us. And she retired from active ministry 2 years ago and moved up here, which is, you know, why I wound up here. But it is, it's just kind of amazing how close you get to people and how much even the ones that at first you went, not so sure about this person, just totally in love with by the end, totally unconditionally in love with. And that is a really good thing for ministers to learn, because it's, you know, our society sort of conditions us to, oh, it's more than discerning, it's judgment, right? We judge someone and say, I don't want them in my life. And sometimes they're our greatest friends. They can be our greatest teachers, yes, but sometimes they can be our greatest friends once we get over that initial judgment. And with your classmates, you sort of you see them at their most vulnerable and deep and open, and you see them make these enormous, beautiful breakthroughs. How can you not fall in love with that?
Absolutely.
And that's what happens at Holmes Institute in the School of Spiritual Leadership. It's part of the deal. And, you know, you cracked open, your heart breaks about 300 times, and it lets more in every time. And the material begins to become part of who you are, whether it's, you know, thinking about the way the brain interacts with the world as a spiritual organ, if you will, or what all the religions say about a certain thing, or whatever it is. It begins to kind of affect the way you look at everything, and just the time you spend with those people, plumbing your own insides, really does create a deep, deep, deep relationship that has been very precious to me, and I know it is to you too. It's a thing that you don't see often in this world.
I actually this past weekend, I've been at CSL Greater Boston for about 18 months now, and I came through Concordia Centers for Spiritual Living in Rhode Island, which is where I live. And I love it's a family, without a doubt. It's a family. Sure. And you know, having to step out of that family to basically start a new family, which, you know, don't get me wrong, it's wonderful and I love the people, but I got the opportunity to go home.
Oh, sweet.
This past weekend. And it was a beautiful celebration for my licensing, and I'm humbled and just so grateful. But going in that building and being around people that I haven't seen in so long, and you know, these are people that, you know, the blessing of a spiritual community. And I encourage people, if you're not feeling that, if you're not experiencing that, even virtually, you can do that. Because all the people that I went through ministerial school, I've never met any of them. I love them. I trust them. I would tell them anything and count on them for everything. And I haven't met them in person once, any of them. So there's a knowing in that. There's a beauty and a love in that says you can have spiritual community and have that bond of the heart, even on virtual connections. So we have services, we have all kinds of things that are available to you. Even on this network, there's all kinds of this visioning, this, we have the morning practices with journaling. There's ways to get involved and feel that kind of connection, spiritual connection and community. And it's so important. So I encourage people to, if you haven't experienced that love, that family feeling, even reach out to me and I can point you in the right direction and, join CSL Greater Boston. We're online for all kinds of things. So it's knowing that there are places out there that you can find that and start taking classes. Just as you said, you can, when you take classes and you open yourself up. So even I'm saying this now to a new person. If you've never taken, a foundations class, if you've never taken those beginning tracks, I encourage people to really take a class because it's a beautiful thing to learn.
Life-changing. Every one of those classes will shift you to a place you were not when you started. Every single one moves you into a deeper understanding of yourself and a deeper understanding of your own nature, which is, this is my favorite thing about ministry over the years, was watching someone get what we mean when we say we are divine. Our nature is divine. When they finally break through and realize that, some of the things society tells us about how lowly we are. There's another way to look at it all, and that is that if God is all there is, then God is right where we are too, right? It's everywhere. It's present in everyone and everything. And when someone gets that, I remember it for me when I finally let it in, because I heard it, but I had a pretty thick shell in those days. It was pretty protected, armored. And when I finally let it in, it was breathtaking to me to feel, something in between me and those habituated thoughts of how I'm not enough and I'm not this and I'm not that. And I'm waiting for something, as you said in your introduction, I got to wait until this, and then maybe I deserve to be happy. All of that stuff is gone because I know who I am. And so every class gives you a better, bigger glimpse into who you really are, and some practice at living from that and understanding it and knowing it and sharing it with other people. And the classes are so terrific for that, for creating community. Because, I think what a lot of people do is they kind of bounce around and they go from this video to that video to Oprah to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They bounce all over and they never settle long enough to kind of open up to who else is there. And that's the secret to life, I think, is to open up to who's there with you. And if you stay in one place long enough to do that, for example, if you take a class with a group of people, those people become your community for that class time. And there's a deeper sense of belonging and a deeper feeling of belonging just because you hung out with them for however many weeks, that I have never found in all my bouncing. And believe me, I've been a seeker my whole life. But when I finally let myself be home, I found people who love me, who support me, who will have my back when I need it, who I can call when I have an issue that I can't seem to let go of, who I can call just to gripe if I need to, because sometimes we all need to. It's a remarkable thing. Spiritual community is a remarkable, remarkable thing. And I'm totally in agreement with you, Gina. If people could find it, they wouldn't want to let it go because it's beautiful.
And we believe in oneness, but live in a society that unfortunately is all about duality. We live in a society that tells us bigger, better, faster, more. That if you have one, you should have two. If your car is 3 years old, you should buy a new one. If your phone is not the newest model, well, clearly you need another one.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, there's always something new. And the truth is that all of that stuff can fill your life, but will not fulfill you. So in a class, we go inside. And one of the greatest gifts of the inside is that's where we find all of those intangibles that we've been looking for all along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is where we find, it's so amazing how much peace you can find within your own being, no matter what. Always. Yeah. Once you start to practice the spiritual practices that are taught in the classes, kind of root a person into this infinite thing we call the universe or spirit or whatever you want to call it. And we learn ways to go back there with just a breath, just a moment's mindfulness, just to turn into that and away from whatever's going on in the world, so that no matter where I am, that peace is always with me. And answers to questions don't come from outside. They come from deep within. And that requires me learning to be still, and me learning to listen, and me learning to not get all caught up. This is the big thing that I think most of the world doesn't realize. If I get caught up in what's out there and what's going on, I will be stressed and disgruntled and disappointed and frightened and all that stuff. But all that is like, it's like when you're, on the ocean and there's all this wave action around you. It's just noisy, noisy, noisy. And you go right under the surface, not too far, and there's this stillness, where you can see clearly, you can figure out what's going on, you can find the answers. And that's what those classes taught me in the beginning, was, first of all, to learn to be still and to learn to focus on what was within rather than what was without. And then they started to break loose those old habits of thought so that I could start to accept and even love myself. And it got better and better and better and better and better. And it continues to do to this day. It's one of the things I really love about this teaching, is that it is open to new things. When some of our books that we use in classes were written, they had no idea about things like mirror neurons in the brain, and some of the parts of the brain that really control our experience and that can change if we do spiritual practice. Yet it became really important to know about those parts, right? Those new scientific bits of information. And so they've been added into the ministerial training because they matter a lot. Mirror neurons, lead scientists to think that human beings are really programmed genetically to be with one another and to be empathetic and compassionate towards one another, because we have these neurons that will lead us to doing whatever the person in front of us is doing. And
isn't it funny that we need science to tell us what we knew all along?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The studies of meditation, the Buddhists have known about that for 3,000 years, right? and the things that happen in meditation. It is interesting that, we're just in the West sort of catching up to it. Well, I think we once knew it and then we forgot, but
we're born knowing.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so much within that we don't pay attention to that we know already, which is another piece we're really paying attention to as we train people and offer classes to them, is how much they already know and how much they can share with each other. and broaden and deepen their connection, not only to each other, but to this huge body of knowledge and mysticism and practice that is our teaching.
Mm. And I wanted to just say, Fiona agreed. Thank you for being here with us, Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
She said, finding a spiritual community that you resonate with is key. And it truly is. And, you know, we are live. So any questions that you have or comments, we'd love to hear from you. You can put them right in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And it's so important that we, you know, we're in a world that is so, especially in the society we're in, we just finished elections and,
Woo.
you know, I know it's 2 days out. And, you know, it's thankfully, you know, I'm so grateful that they were peaceful. After all that we've gone through the past 6 years, you know, it was a wonderful thing that they were peaceful, regardless of whatever the outcome was, whether you liked it, whether you didn't. You know, we had this peaceful election, and I'm very grateful for that. And, you know, when we go through life, we realize we don't have to agree with everything.
Right.
But we want to be ourselves. We want to be in a place of awareness and knowing that, you know, that we don't know. It is such a lightening when we realize we don't have to know everything.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to know. It's good to not know. And the gift of having a class full of people is that you learn things you could have never known any other way.
Absolutely. There's a great old Buddhist story about the monk who the master said, "I'll pour you some tea," and the monk held out his mug, and the master just poured in the tea, and it got to the top of the cup, and he just kept pouring, and he just kept pouring, and he just kept pouring. It was overflowing, and the young monk said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And the master said, "That cup is like you. If you come in full of what you think you know, no one can add anything new. But if we take the time to empty the cup, notice that the cup is empty, and receive what is always there, what we know and what we experience can increase, and we can take in someone's opposite viewpoint and let it be okay. We can try and understand, we can ask them questions about why they have that viewpoint, and we can broaden and deepen. And that is an amazing attribute to have in these days, particularly because it's a global world, right? We have students, and Fiona's not in the US, she's in Europe, and we have all students from all over, and lots of interaction with people of all kinds. And every one of them has something to give us, something to teach us. And so instead of doing what we're sort of raised up to do in this society, which is judge and then look for people who look like us and act like us and are like us, to just be whoever is there intimately and deeply and openly, and learn what they have to teach us, because everybody does, everybody. And I love that about Science of Mind and about what we're doing at Holmes Institute. And indeed, it's the foundation, I think, of the deep spiritual inquiry that we are about. And in the process of this deep spiritual inquiry, you'd have so much fun. Life just gets to be so fun and so rich and so satisfying, even in the smallest things. And when I first started here in Science of Mind was 1986, believe it or not. It was, my life was not fun. It wasn't. And I was struggling with everything. And I was really hard on myself, really hard. And slowly, I found out that people did want to be in a club with me, so to speak, and that I could relax and be myself and have a really, really, really good time. And that's just continued too. And, life is here to be enjoyed, not endured. And
Yes.
now I'm enjoying it. And this is great. And I so appreciate that about science of mind in general, and about my work, and the fact that every student that I interact with reminds me of that. So life is here to be enjoyed.
And now, not in some distant time,
Yeah.
not if things look the way we want them to. It's always available to us.
Right here,
And,
right now.
I believe that everyone has a ministry. Some of us are called to, we to be in a, it's actually teaching and doing this teaching. But whether if you're a teacher of any kind at grammar school, you have a ministry. If you are, a parent, you have a ministry.
Oh,
Anyone that, whatever it is, whether it's maybe you're an artist, you have a ministry. You are giving beauty to the world. If you're a cook, you have a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has what's theirs in a way that they give back to community in some way. And when we look at what we have to offer, I love the story of stone soup.
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody had something. The stranger walks in with nothing. He picks up a rock and tells a story and basically says, "This will be the most amazing soup you'll ever have." And the whole community says, "Well, I don't have extra food to give anyone." And, they said, "That's okay. But if you have something, then you can have some too." And everybody comes out with what they made, whether they grew carrots or whether they had a potato or whatever it was. We're not supposed to be the same. And it was the most amazing soup because the community all came together to create it. And that's what life is in this oneness.
And how much more beautiful it is when we look around and see, these infinite facets of beautiful people knit together into this oneness. And I find it just incredibly beautiful sometimes when I just realize that, I sit here looking out into my forest, which has 30 species of trees and hundreds of shrubs and plants and wildflowers that change weekly. And I realize that diversity is the way of all life, and it doesn't work otherwise.
Absolutely.
And it's the same way with us. And it's just so much more beautiful and so much more richer. And you can discover all sorts of things. I can discover all sorts of things when I'm just open to recognizing the beauty in diversity, which forms the oneness. It's amazing. It's incredible.
And I just wanted to, there is someone, I'm not sure who it is. They haven't logged in. You can actually log into StreamYard.com. And just by logging in, we know who you are. So yes, celebrating diversity. And I just wanted to say hello to Wayne, who is saying hello from Calgary. Great to have you. And also Fiona. New Thought Media Network is a fantastic global platform for us in Europe. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
What a gift it's been. And actually, Reverend Laura Topper, who just completed the Holmes Institute, actually, she has several shows here, and she does an 8:15 a.m. UK time prayer Monday through Friday. Every Monday through Friday, she does an 8:15 a.m. UK time, so that there is that accessibility to people all over the world at whatever time it works for them. And it's so important that we remember that. And it's a beautiful thing. We have someone here from Europe. We have someone here from Canada, and we're all in different places, and it doesn't matter. It's
Absolutely.
right here, right now, in this oneness.
And the whole world is our home, and the whole of humanity is our family, and the whole planet is ours to take care of. And the more we can facilitate that, knowing, understanding that, the better, I think. And when we can spread our teaching out across the globe, like Global New Thought Network is doing, and like Holmes Institute is doing, and we actually just have a student who lives in South Africa, and he's just come back to school after having a baby. And, he gets up in the middle of the night for some of those classes, which is the dedication is incredible. I know Fiona did that too. And we try all the time to make it easier and more inclusive for students in places outside of North America, because our community is the world. And if we are going to do if we're ever going to accomplish our vision, which is a world that works for all life, we can't just do it here in North America. It has to be the whole world. And that is really exciting to me, because the world truly is right here in our pockets, in our computers, accessible to us in all sorts of ways, and to celebrate it and feed it good stuff. That's, people always, we've talked a lot in my center about the purpose of life, because I think everybody wants to feel a purpose. And I used to be, I had to do something earth shaking to count, but it's not earth shaking at all. My purpose is to enjoy life, do the things that allow me to enjoy life, and then let myself shine. Because when I do the things that let me enjoy life, what happens is I'm kind to people. I'm compassionate to people. I go out of my way to help people. I would, cheerfully, buy somebody a meal or listen to them for an hour if they needed to vent, and pray with them, or whatever it took to help them feel a little bit better. I think if we take care of this inner verse and not stop there, but allow what's within to come out, that's how we begin to really change the world and create this world that's going to work for all life. We change our insides, and what comes from there is beautiful. And each one of us adds a little drop here, and a little drop there, and a little drop here, and a little drop there. And pretty soon the solution that we're dropping these things into gets better and better and better. Yes, be the light. Absolutely. And shine. Don't just be it under a bushel, as it says in the Bible. Take it up on the hill and shine, shine, shine.
It's living with intention and really realizing that we can make choices, that we can make changes, that we are meant to, be these constantly changing, wonderful, quirky, individualized, beings of light that we are. And that we get to be, the change we wish to see in the world. We're not waiting for the change. We're the ones making the change.
We're it. Absolutely. And, it doesn't mean that we always have to be joyful and happy and smiling and say, oh, yeah, life is great, because sometimes life hurts, especially if you have an open heart. It's one of the things that I was always afraid of when I was practicing law, because if you go into a courtroom without your armor on, you're going to get hurt. So when I became a minister, I had to kind of peel it off. And the more I peeled and the more my heart became open, it got very hard for me for a while, because I would feel somebody so deeply, and I would feel what was going on across the globe so deeply that it kind of paralyzed me. And what I realized is that it's okay to have those feelings and not get stuck in them, but to process them and learn what's there. And, when I lose someone close to me that I love, what I learned from that is that I love them very much, and that they affected my life. They were a gift to my life, and it hurts when they're gone. It does. So I'm not always, saying life is fabulous and easy and smooth. What I am saying is life is rich and deep. And underneath all of that, I think as the there's a wonderful book by Bishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama that they wrote together because they were great friends, about joy. And, they show that in that book, that underneath all of it is simply the joy of being alive, the joy of being in the universe. And that means you can feel all those other things and give them the respect that they're due, and do the grieving you have to do, and be motivated to make the changes you want to, see in the world, and still have joy underneath all of that. And that, I think, is what we're learning now, is how to do it. We're learning to really hold the paradox of being alive, because sometimes it hurts and there's always joy.
Yes.
That
book is wonderful too. Much of it is their conversations. So it's basically it's their back and forth and bickering with each other, and their actual,
oh my God,
their humanness comes out. And
Yep.
Oftentimes we forget that we are human, and it's okay whether they're seeming mistakes or whether we're just not in a good mood. It's okay to be exactly where we are. We're not talking about spiritual bypass and pretending. Right. We're talking about living in this moment and reaching for that higher feeling, that higher conversation. Reaching out to people and being human, and realizing that we're all doing the best we can to walk each other home.
Absolutely. One of my very favorite sayings, the thing that sort of brought me around to this ability, or this view, that what we're really learning how to do is walk in paradox, because the human journey is paradox, one after another after another. Shunryu Suzuki said, yes, you are whole, complete, and you could use a little work.
Couldn't we all?
I love that. I love that.
Couldn't we all?
That's exactly right. We are whole, perfect, and complete. And we can always continue to grow and become stronger in our spiritual practice, and learn how better to be in the world, and how better to love each other that is so important. It's become so important to me because of that notion that we're all walking each other home. I want to walk in love with my arms linked with as many people as I can link them with during this journey home. And may we all have a good time together, not just me, all of us together.
Absolutely. And you have a slide that do we want to share?
Oh yeah, this is more about Holmes Institute. What we're thinking of doing is we're starting to think about the curriculum differently, and the framework differently, and the whole ministerial training path, as well as the path for people who don't want to become ministers, but simply want to go deeper, as this little road where we gain skills, right? And we do that through some of the skills, the actual how to learn skills that we offer. And loving wisdom is what philosophies are all about. Philosophy is a discipline that plumbs the wisdom of the world. And I learned to love all of it, no matter where it came from, whether it was from an Islamic scholar or the Dalai Lama or anyone else. And then religion helps us make meaning, and psychology helps us look at our own selves, our souls. And we learn about the culture so that we can interpret the world, so that we understand it and can teach it. We learn to lead, and then we create knowledge. We create new knowledge. Okay, you can take that down if you want. And that creating knowledge is what ministers really do. As they teach, they take stuff that's been around for a long, long time and speak it into the world in a way that the people there can hear it and are changed by it. And that was one of the things that I really loved about pulpit ministry, being a senior minister, was every week I got to digest something and then put it in words that the people who were there would understand and be moved by. And that was really fun. And in that way, we create a better understanding in them, and they create a better understanding in their families, and it ripples outward in a beautiful way. And so that's what we're doing at Holmes Institute in the School of Spiritual Leadership with some really extraordinary people. I have to tell you, our students are off the charts amazing, every one of them, because they're kind of called to be where they are, even if they're not going to be ministers. They want to know more about this thing we call consciousness and about what it means to be human. And they're just wonderful. And they are eager to learn and interested in the material mostly. I know some of the classes don't seem to make sense, but on that little road, they really do. They fit in there. And it's a fabulous, fabulous way for me to contribute, and they contribute to my life and my joy in a really big way.
There's it's a wonderful program, ministerial as well as what people don't realize is there's 2 tracks. And I want to just put that out there for people. It is a master's program as well. So you can go just for ministry. And I say just, it's not just, it's huge. But there's, I personally was out of the Florida campus for spiritual leadership. And I loved the Florida campus. Reverend Catherine and every one of my classmates is just amazing. And then there's the Holmes Institute, where everybody comes together from the different campuses and takes all of that curriculum. And there's also a master's program that people can get it's an accredited master's program.
Correct. Yeah, and it's for anyone who has a bachelor's degree and simply wants to understand more about himself or herself and the world and how we got where we are and what all the wisdom of the world, it kind of swirls around into something coherent by the time you're through. And it's really quite amazing. Probably about 35% of our students are not ministerial students, maybe 40 now, but simply there to understand, to learn to understand more. And whatever, we have people from all walks of life, and they take that knowledge and put it to work where they are. And then that's their ministry. As you said, they're changing things where they are because they're coming from a deeper, broader understanding, and they can better interact with the people around them and offer whatever it is they're offering to those people. So it's pretty wonderful.
And I think one of the bonuses to me is that there's a lot of places that you can go for spiritual studies, but the Holmes Institute is, we're a little biased because we love New Thought, right? But it's the classes at the actual Holmes Institute are very much the courses of the courses. It's not about one religion. It's about all, the study of religion, as opposed to a particular point of view. It is the worldview. It's a very different way of looking at things. And the classes are amazing. The people, it was a wonderful experience for me. And it's hard to believe, but we're actually getting almost to that hour. So
I know
time is wrapped up, and it's just so, I am so grateful to have you here. And I know Fiona said thank you for a great conversation. Fiona. Thank you for being here. It is a gift. And, we really appreciate it from the students. I'm going to say thank you because, it is a gift. I have never, anytime I'd ever reached out to you, and there were several times, I got right back. I was always replied to you right back. And it's so important when you're not on a physical campus.
Right.
It's important to know that you never get lost in the cracks. There's always somebody there for you. And
absolutely,
one of the things about our teachings is I hope people feel that way. So I am putting that call out to people and letting them know on this network, you can reach us anytime. prayer@ntmedia.org is what we, as far as we have daily prayer twice, actually it's 3 times a day now. And our prayer team is here anytime. And again, it's prayer@ntmedia.org. And it gives people an opportunity to reach out for whatever it is they may need. If you have questions, reach out to us. Know that we are here to help you in any way that we can. And there's so much inspirational information on this network. So you know what? Go back and go to ntmedia.org and take a look at all of the past episodes. I encourage you to really know that we are here. Are there any final words or sentiments that you want to share with people, Dr. CC?
Well, it's really been wonderful to be with you, Reverend Gina. You're just such a bright light, and the work you're doing is so great. And to see Fiona, who I absolutely adore. And, I guess your last words really resonate with me, because the more we can feel like there's, we're always held in someone's mind, whether we know about it or not. But there's always someone thinking of us, praying for us, whatever. And we just sort of let ourselves in for that when we say, yeah, here, I have a prayer request for you. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to start to realize how interconnected we are, and how none of us we're never left to our own devices all by ourselves in a dangerous universe. It's just not how it is. It is actually an interconnected, interwoven, interdependent existence that we're part of. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you for bringing it up in the way that you did. And thank you for the opportunity. It's been grand.
Wonderful to have you here. And people can reach out to me as well. If you have any questions, you can reach me, Gina@cslboston.org. And when you do, any questions for Dr. CC, I can make sure she gets them, and we'll get you answers. If there's any questions as far as finding a spiritual community or anything in the likes, please know, just reach out to us. We are here and grateful to be here. And I want you to know that we have Thursday Sacred Circle at 7. So tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, a good friend of mine, an amazing woman that is finished with her studies. She's just got to be paneled for ministry. Katie Roxburgatti is going to be leading that tonight. So that's the Zoom meeting. You can go to CSLBoston.org for the links, and that is this evening. And I am teaching a class on the 4 agreements that you can still get into. Right. So again, Gina@cslboston.org, and I can get you that information. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you all for being part of this network with us in this grand experiment of new thought. It is a gift. And remember, it is meant to be a joyful journey. So if in this moment it's not, find a way, find someone, reach out to me, reach out to anyone on this network. And again, prayer@ntmedia.org, and we will get you connected to wherever you need to be. So thank you for being here, Reverend Dr. CC. And I am blessed to be a graduate and going back for my master's. But I am, what a gift it is to be part of this new thought world. So blessings and love until next week. Namaste.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you.